Yes, excellent. I am recording. Okay. Can you? The light's really awful here. Can you see me all right? Not that
Yeah,
you
you
need.
look fine.
Yeah.
I had to close my blind too. It was blowing out everything.
Okay. Awesome. Right. It feels really weird because I kind of want to do like an introduction and stuff, but I've never done anything for my channel like this before. Normally, it's just me going hi.
I get it. The first time you start doing all this stuff, it feels super awkward.
Yes.
It really does. I've done 200 some podcast episodes now, and every time I have to start one, it still feels weird. I don't know what that is.
That's why you make the others do it.
Yeah, I used to do it more, but now because we have like bumpers and stuff, and I'm showing trailers while we're doing it, I'm constantly clicking on things and doing stuff. So if I have to be the one talking, there are awkward pauses.
Yeah.
So I make them do it for the most part.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I couldn't have the pressure of knowing I've got to press a certain button at a certain time. No.
I screw it up constantly.
Okay, so are you ready for some questions?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to do the boring, typical ones first. So,
Okay.
when did your writing journey begin, and why did you choose horror, dark fiction?
Well, my story is a little different than most people's. I didn't write fiction until I was 30 years old. I
Okay.
was in a job that I hated. I worked for the uh, federal government, and I needed to make a change. And I just kind of quit my job outright. I did not have a plan to become a writer. I was going to have my own computer business. I used to do digital forensics, which is about as far away from writing as you can get. And I just one day was reading, I think I got a book on my Kindle or something like that. And I ended up finding J.A. Conrath, who used to have a great blog. He still has a great site, but he doesn't blog that much anymore. And he was talking about all the virtues of self-publishing and how he's making more money than he ever did and yada, yada, yada. And I thought, I always wanted to be a storyteller. I went to college for TV and radio and things like that. And I
Okay.
wanted to be a filmmaker. And I thought this could be a good way to kind of tell the stories I wanted to do in film, but do it in book form. So I decided to give it a shot, and here I am, still doing it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And why horror? Why dark fiction? Why not
I'm
go
just
down something else?
obsessed. I don't know. It's one of those things where if you're into this stuff, you are super deep into it, and everything
Yeah.
else kind of gets pushed by the wayside. I I'm just like all the other dorks. I've got horror shit everywhere. I've got a pinhead mask over there and a pyramid head over here and American Werewolf in London this, and I'm just obsessed with it. I have been since I was probably, I don't know, 13 years old, 14 years old, and I started reading Stephen King, and I found Monster Vision, which was a show on the US on TNT on the weekends with a guy who showed horror movies, and I've been obsessed ever since. So even if I wasn't writing it, I was still watching and reading horror constantly.
Yeah.
So it's just a natural weird progression for freaks like me.
No, that makes sense. It's you write what you know and you write what you would want to read.
Yep.
Yep.
I
Okay.
mean, I can tell you've got the sickness too, just looking at your bookshelf there.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And it's been there a long time as well, since early childhood. So yeah, definitely.
What was
Born
the
and
first thing
bred on horror.
that kind of got you?
The first book I ever read was Salem's Lot at 10.
Ooh.
The first horror movie I ever watched was, well, the first thing that ever scared the life out of me was Ghostbusters.
No, me too.
Yeah, when I was about 5 or 6, something like that. And then I watched Nightmare on Elm Street, again about 10, that kind of thing. So, but my dad is obsessed with horror, so he kind of brought me up on it. It was always, that's all we ever watched in our house. Was my dad always watched horror movies, and my mum always watched crime, police dramas and stuff like that. And I knew from 4 years old that I wanted to be a cop. So
your dad passed it down to you like a genetic defect.
Definitely a defect, yeah. And he's still like one of my biggest fans. I send him my stories and things, and from reading all of that, and he grew up watching the Hammer films and things like that. So for him, he's really proud that not only did he pass it on, but I'm actually doing something with it. So that's really cool.
I bet he is. So
yeah,
you jumped right into Salem's Lot. Did you have like a Goosebumps period in there?
no, because we didn't have Goosebumps in England when I was a kid. No. So my first experience of that kind of thing, because I went full on with Salem's Lot, but I don't think I particularly understood it all, because there's a lot of overtones in there and all like the sexual stuff and that kind of stuff. So when you're 10, you're a bit like, ooh, I don't really understand this. So then did move into point horror and that kind of stuff when I was about maybe 13, 14. And then Goosebumps didn't come over here till I was like 18, 19. So I have read them, but not at the right age group, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it didn't have the impact on you at those.
No. I mean, I still absolutely loved it, but we didn't have that kind of thing when we were kids, which is a shame, really. But I don't know. Just wasn't something that we had.
A good way of poisoning you when you're younger, that's for sure.
Yeah. Although I have a 10-year-old and she is the biggest scaredy cat you have ever met.
Really?
Yeah, she won't even read Harry Potter. Harry Potter is too scary for her. She won't watch Scooby-Doo or anything like that. Anything even remotely. So for a few years, we couldn't even celebrate Halloween properly because if she saw a pumpkin, she would cry.
How the hell does that happen?
I've no idea because my husband's also massively into horror. He likes all genres like sci-fi and watching Final Guys yesterday. He loves Dread. Absolutely, he was obsessed with 2000 AD and Judge Dredd. He's got two of the original Dread comics up there, which cost quite a lot of money. So he's big into all that kind of stuff too. So how between us we managed to produce someone that
Yeah.
won't even read Harry Potter. I mean, she's a reader. She reads loads of stuff, but and now she's at that age where it's a really weird age because what do you read when you're 10 if you can't read anything remotely scary or even if it's an adventure story? She doesn't like it.
That's so crazy. I would have never guessed.
Yeah. Yeah, because most people I know that have got kids, at like 3, 4 years old, they're dressing up in werewolf costumes and all that kind of stuff. And the kids are just as obsessed as they are. Mine's like, no.
Yeah, that's a shame because Halloween was so important to me when I was young, even before I was really into horror.
Yeah.
It just sucks for her not to be able to experience that.
Well, don't get me wrong. She loves trick-or-treating because of the candy. Yeah. Yeah. So she kind of makes an acceptance for that. Not that it's as big over here anyway. I mean, it's only just been this week or so that we've even got decorations to buy in the shops and things. And I said, pumpkin spice, you can get it in Starbucks, maybe one or two other coffee shops, and that's it. We don't have the pumpkin spice like candies and cereals and all things like you guys do. But what we normally do, yeah, but Halloween's not healthy, is it? See, we quite often we do go to the States and we'll stock up on all that kind of stuff, but we've not been able to get over this year. So, boo.
Oh, we've been deep in it. We put our Halloween decorations up in the house in mid-September. All our neighbors think we're weirdos, and they are correct.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, though.
I love it. It's year-round for me. I just don't. Everybody around doesn't know it.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So you kind of answered this a little bit, but I've put, when did you decide to write full time? So, rather than, because most of the, even like Hunter and people like that, they've all got day jobs and then they write. So how come you write full time?
Well, when I quit my job working for the Department of Defense, I had saved up about a 2-year buffer for me to try to start my own computer business before I would have to go back and get a regular job. And it was maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months, something like that, into this when I decided, I really hate working on other people's computers. It wasn't just working for the government that I hated. It's actually fixing people's computers that was driving me crazy. So when I switched over to try to write, I had maybe a year and a half, maybe a little bit more to try to make it work. And I got within the last month or two, I can't remember exactly, it was very close. My money was almost out when I released a book called The Dark, and it kind of took off for me. And I thought, you know what, I can make this work. So I've been going ever since. I make more than enough money to kind of sit at home and be lazy and do nothing. So it hasn't failed me yet.
That's amazing.
It was close. I want to say I made $1,500, somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 in the first year and a half of me just writing my ass off. I made nothing.
Yeah.
And something finally clicked. And then, once you have that first thing, it can kind of start to snowball.
Definitely.
You figure out, maybe maybe blue in the cover isn't great, but red sells better. And
Yeah.
oh, this length does better, this price point. Oh, I can advertise here and it does a little more sales wise than if I advertise there. And you start to get a feel for it once you chisel away at it a little bit. And then you can either hammer down, which is what the smart person does, or you can coast, which is what I did for a while. So,
Do you
yeah,
self-pub?
Yes, I only
Yeah.
self-publish.
Yeah.
It would take a very big book deal for me to sell to a publisher because I know I can make more than a small press could make me. They're just between splitting the royalties. I've had a couple offers. One offer I was close to signing with because I was going to get a pretty solid mass market paperback deal.
Yep.
But actually, it ended up being a good thing I didn't take it because the company folded. But I've come close, but none of the offers have been enough money for me to do it. Because I just know if I release a novel on my own, there is a certain to be able to make for it as a bare minimum. And if a publisher isn't going to offer me that much, then it doesn't make sense for me to do it. So I haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Okay.
And being in horror, it's not like there are $1 million deals coming our way.
No.
Yeah. Unless your name is Stephen King, it's not happening.
No, definitely not. Do you only write stuff for yourself, or do you submit to anthologies and things like that?
I've a couple stories in the anthologies, but it wasn't for money or anything like that. I did one for a children's charity, which was a whole funny story. I've submitted to my editor had wanted to put together a couple anthologies, so I submitted a few stories to her as a favor. But otherwise, no, I don't do anything like that. If I write a short story, I'll publish it on my own. I've got a couple I'm saving. I've been considering making a Patreon where I release a short story a month or something like that. But as far as submitting, nope, haven't done it. It's all about dollars and cents for me. Like I understand a lot of people, they want to work with a certain publisher. They want the prestige of being in a book with Clive Barker. I completely understand that rationale. But this is how I pay my mortgage, so I can't let my ego get in the way. It's got to be about what's going to make me the most money. So that's why I do everything myself.
You don't think that maybe if you were in a book with a big name, that more people pick that up because of the big name and then discover you and then go on to pick up your back catalogue and things like that?
It's definitely possible. I couldn't say for sure either way.
Yeah.
I've always kind of gone on the personal thing of if I buy a collection that has a Stephen King story in it, I remember the Stephen King story. I don't really remember everybody else's story. I don't know if that's correct or not.
Yeah.
I just know sometimes when there's a big name attached, it tends to overshadow. I don't know if it's a rising tide lifts all boats or that giant boat just blocks everybody else's dinghy out. I don't know how it works, so I've never really experimented with it. Maybe it's something I should.
Because one of my first releases, it was a charity book, but Adam Neville and Tim Leben were both in the anthology as well. And I have to say, most people that have sort of reviewed it, yes, they've all made a mention of Adam and Tim, but they've kind of said these are two guys that don't need me to review and to say anything about their stories. You know they're going to be excellent, so I'm going to talk about the other authors, which is good, because I had the same kind of, oh shit, I'm in a book with Adam Neville, no one's going to be looking or remembering mine when everyone's going to be reading that. But luckily a lot of people, and I think that sometimes helps when other writers are reviewing as well, and especially if they're other new indie writers, they kind of read your stories because they're supporting you, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, you might be right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I honestly don't write that many short stories because they don't make as much money.
Yeah.
You can't sell them for much. So I mostly stick to novels. I used to write novellas more.
Yeah.
But I wasn't making as much money with those. So I mostly do novels, mostly in series, because it costs me less money to advertise those.
Of course.
So I'm making myself sound like a like a corporate writer idiot. But
No, I mean, we all have our writing preferences. You know, some people find that they don't like short stories either, because a short story has still got everything that a novel's got in it. It still needs a beginning, a middle, and end. It still needs character development, but you can only fit it into a certain amount of, words. And some people just don't like that. So.
Yeah, no, I love short stories. I can't monetize them in a way that's been efficient for me. That's why I'm thinking about the Patreon idea. I just don't know that. Can I write one a month every month consistently
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the only thing
Yeah.
that's kind of held me back so far.
Yeah, I can see that. Because
We'll
I
see.
know, because Glenn's Patreon, he does the same kind of thing. Glenn Roll is a short story every so often, but he's got like hundreds backed up already. So
Oh,
he's
that makes
just,
it easier.
yeah, definitely. So I can kind of see if you're having to come up with the goods every month and you're writing your own novels and stuff as well, that puts a bit of pressure on you then.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern, but
Yeah,
I might end up doing it because I do like writing shorts and I would like to be able to monetize them at some
yeah,
point. So we'll see.
yeah. Patreon's a bugger for making any money back off of as well. It's really
Is it?
difficult to make money from, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless
I
you're
don't
like
know.
me, because I've got a Patreon and people support me, but I just use every single penny I make to support other people. So I don't make anything.
Oh,
I
I see.
pledge all mine back to other people.
I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not generous. I'm an asshole, so that probably won't be a problem for me.
Fair enough. Okay, next question. Which of your books or series have been your favorite?
Oh, man. I get asked that a lot, and I guess it depends on the mood I'm in. If I'm feeling extremely snarky, my
Yeah,
Asher Benson series is 50% comedy. It's
right.
just
Yep.
constant shit talking between characters. So if I'm in that mood, definitely
Yeah.
that. If I want more of a horror bent, my Hunger series, which I'm almost finished with book 6. I'll either finish it today or tomorrow.
Whoa.
Um, that one definitely more of a horror bent, definitely more of a survival kind of thing I'm doing. And I write the first book is about a guy going through depression, particularly at the beginning, and then he
Don't
kind
tell
of
me too much because I'm reading it now.
okay,
It's devoured, isn't it? Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yes,
So
I'm
it
reading it. Yeah.
he works
Yeah.
through his personal issues throughout the
Yeah.
series, and so the whole thing is like this character arc for him. But I
Yep.
think most people read it just as a monster book.
Yep.
But I really did things with pacing throughout the series to kind of match his mood and
Okay.
his mental state.
Mm.
So I like doing things like that in that series. So I'm gonna cheat and say both for different reasons, but it really
Okay.
is true. I'll
Yeah.
write either one depending on where my mindset is at the time.
So, because I've just started it, and the whole bit at the start with the hospital when they've suddenly gone down into like the lockdown and whatnot, it was quite scary because that's almost what we've just gone through. I mean, obviously not quite as extreme,
Yep.
but there was like real echoes in it, and I was like, oh, this is hitting a bit close to home now.
Yeah, you know what's not great is when you make most of your money on a particular series at the moment and it's about a about a plague that wipes out humanity and then an actual pandemic hits, it's great
Yeah.
for your sales.
Yeah.
Just tanked me in March.
Yeah. Yes, I can well imagine. But it hopefully it's far enough. It's a bit like when I did a review for have you read Jans's The Raven yet?
No, I haven't read it yet.
No, okay. So that's like post-apocalyptic and obviously like a survival, all of that. But it's the world has been sprinkled with like something which makes we've all got a dormant DNA within us where we all used to be monsters. So maybe hundreds of years ago you came from a werewolf line and I came from a vampire line or something like that. And it has all come because of this DNA that's been sprinkled on everybody. It's all come to the forefront. So although it is post-apocalyptic, that's not really happening. So I read that during the coronavirus, but I didn't think, oh my God, because it's not about toilet paper and bleach and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Well,
most people can put them, on different boxes.
yeah, I keep telling people well, I don't want to tell you too much, but
Yeah.
there's a big shift about halfway through the book, and it's not as much as you would think it would be about a pandemic or a plague or whatever. So unfortunately, you start reading the book, you're like, oh, I don't want to read about this right now. I'm living this. You know, what are you gonna do?
I know. Okay. Right. So this you kind of just answered that as well. So which has been your most popular book or series based on sales?
So it goes back and forth between the Asher Benson series and the Hunger series, and it really depends on the format and the place. The Asher Benson series on Amazon has done gangbusters for me. The Hunger series has done really well too, but if you go to a place like Google Play, the Hunger series far outstrips the Asher Benson series. So it really depends on the country. It depends on the store. It gets very granular and nerdy, and nobody gives a crap. But money wise, it's very neck and neck for me. I have a much better read through rate in the Hunger series. So from book 1 to book 2 to book 3, there's not a lot of drop off. The Asher Benson series, the first book it's basically a men's adventure, snarky, vulgar, violent. I wrote it for men. Almost 90% of the readers of that series are women. So I'm like kicking myself because I should have done a little bit better writing it for women. So the read through rate from book 1 to book 2, there's a very big drop off because I think a lot of people buy it and read it and they're like, what the hell is this? And then, but once they get to book 2, it's pretty consistent from then on. So it ends up averaging out pretty close. If you want to know what not to do, just read through my books and you'll see exactly the mistakes I've made.
Awesome. So basically the people that like Final Guys would like your books then. You've got to have that kind of sense of humor and not take it seriously.
Yes. Even my scarier stuff all has characters talking shit to each other. It's who I am. I can't help it. So it's always snarky humor.
That's all right. Hunter actually said to me to ask you, did you mean to corner the market on snarky humor?
Did I mean to what?
Corner the market on snarky humor.
I'm doing my best. Yeah. I'm trying.
Awesome. See, that sells it to me. If somebody says that about it, I'm like, I'm all in then.
You can see it in reviews of my books. It's the top one is either a 1-star or a 5-star where they're either praising or hating the humor in it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so the next question was based on reviews, which has been your most popular, which is like a fan favorite.
Well, Asher Benson #1 has the most reviews. Its average has actually come up in recent years. I don't know why. It was always down around a 4.0 and it's kind of risen. But I want to say the highest rated book, I mean, average rating wise, it's always going to be a later book in the series because anybody who didn't like it isn't reading book 5 of The Hunger. So, it's only people who love it that are continuing on. But as far as early first novel stuff in a series, I would probably say Devoured. That one kind of hit when the zombie craze was going on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, it's not a zombie book per se, but it's got a lot of the same tropes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people found it zombie fans, even now when the genre is kind of down, it's still heavily read. And people who are into zombie stuff are just voracious readers.
Yeah.
So my book had kind of been shared around a few of those communities and it has done really well because of that. They like what's in it.
So all the Walking Dead fans.
Yes, all
the
disenfranchised Walking Dead fans now.
Awesome. Okay, brilliant. Right, so moving on a little bit, how did the idea for Final Guys come about?
Well, I'd had a podcast before called Drinking with Jason where I author morons like myself, and it was such a pain in the ass to get people to show up on time, on the right date, to email me back that I just stopped doing it because dealing with authors drove me insane. So, but I still wanted to have a platform to talk about. I mean, we talk about all the horror movies and books we read each week. Obviously, you watch the show, but I didn't have too many people to talk about that stuff with. I was still doing it, whether I have the podcast or not. I'm still going to be watching, the Amityville series or whatever garbage right now. And I wanted to have something where I could talk about this stuff with like-minded people. And I'd met Jack and Hunter through Monster Men years before, and they just seemed like guys that were exactly deep into this stupid stuff like I am. So it would be a good choice. So I approached them about it years ago, and they both were 100% in and been kind of kicking it around ever since.
Awesome. How did Tim get involved?
I think they had met Tim through Monster Men too. I'm not 100% sure. I'm trying to remember how I first talked to Tim, to be honest. But I had met Tim at a book signing he was doing in Pennsylvania about an hour from me a couple of years ago. He was there with Armand Rosamilia. And he, maybe I know Tim because I think he was watching Final Guys live and commenting and stuff. And
Right.
I'd kind of started talking to him that way. I think that's what it was. And then I met him at a book signing and drank too many beers and hung out for a while. And we've been buddies ever since. And when the pandemic hit, he was forced to stay home a
Mm.
lot more than even your average person. And we just said, hey, if you ever want to hop in, because you're hanging around not doing anything, you can join in. And I feel like he fits the show really well. He adds a balance that I actually feel may have been missing a little bit before. My wife thinks so too. She thinks
Mm.
he just brings a really good element to it. And after we'd had him on a couple weeks, we just said, we should make this permanent and just have him in. And it really wasn't anything that was planned. It wasn't something
Yeah.
we had talked about. It just we had him on a couple times, and he's a great fit.
Yeah, definitely. It does.
Yeah,
I think having four people just really rounds it off, like as you say as well. And he likes to stand his ground with his weird choices as well.
yeah. Having somebody with the worst taste ever gives me a punching bag too. So I like that.
Yeah,
He likes
definitely.
some weird stuff.
He does, yeah. And he was having none of it with Sylvester Stallone, was he?
I'm still perplexed by that. None? Who doesn't like Rocky? How is that even possible?
It's because he doesn't like his face. It's a good job I was here alone this morning because I was absolutely pissing myself when I was watching that.
Yeah,
It's
that was maybe my
hilarious.
favorite part of last night's episode when we spent 5 minutes just naming Stallone
Yeah.
movies. We go off on some tangents every now and then, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely. The tangents are the best. And sometimes I don't know how you will keep a straight face with some of the things that Hunter says as well.
I think you just get used to the insanity after a while.
Yeah. That's the only way. Okay, so you also did something called So Bad It's Good. What happened with that? Because that seems to have stopped.
The pandemic hit,
Okay.
and just everything got turned upside down. And my buddy didn't want to film for a while, and then my sales collapsed. My wife's job went away. My wife is self-employed as well. She's a
Right.
personal trainer, and obviously,
Ah,
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So our income died 90% in a period of a week.
Yeah.
So I basically spent the summer rebuilding everything back up to where we have money again.
Yep.
And it's funny you asked that because I just bought a new lens for my camera, so hopefully it looks less shitty. And I'm editing an episode right now, and we're hopefully we'll be back to a bi-weekly schedule here in the next 2 weeks to a month, something like that.
Awesome. Okay.
It's a ton of work editing
Yeah.
it because we edit in movie footage, reaction footage of us watching it, or discussion. It takes a long time to do an episode, and it gets no views. Like we have zero fans of it. But I really enjoy watching bad movies and
Yeah.
having a couple beers and talking about them. So it's something I want to keep doing.
Yeah.
So, but when you don't have money,
Yeah.
certain things get pushed away, and that was the first one.
Definitely. You need to watch. I'm sure this wasn't on Final Guys. I'm sure this was on something else. Jaws 5. Have you seen that one? So it's not obviously it's not Jaws 5 because it's not allowed to be, but it's one of these. I think it's vinegar syndrome, and it's called Cruel Jaws, really, but it got marketed as Jaws 5 illegally. And I keep seeing it. I think Adam Caesar had it yesterday or the day before on something. And apparently it's just a complete and utter rip-off all the way through of a mixture of like Jaws and Jurassic Park. And insofar as they actually take like whole lines from like the different movies and stuff.
I'm looking it up right now. You have me at Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah.
I love the stuff those guys put out.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing this movie now, Cruel Jaws, directed
That's
by
it.
Bruno Mattei,
Yep.
who we have done movies of his on So Bad It's Good. The
There you
guy,
go.
what did he do? It was a Terminator and an Aliens ripoff. Oh, damn it. I can't think of the name of it. It was awful. It was just pain to watch that movie.
Yeah.
So Vinegar Syndrome, they should just sponsor us because
Yeah.
I promote so many of their stupid movies. All right, Jaws 5. I'm going to
Yeah.
add that to the list right now.
Yeah, there you go. You can thank me later.
I'll be thanking you or cursing you later,
Yeah.
depending on how it goes.
You'll be laughing, so
I hope so.
Yeah.
Some of these movies are bad. They're not so bad it's good. It's just the
bad.
worst.
Just
Yeah.
bad. That leads me nicely on to my next question, which is why do you torture yourself with these series? Why do you do it? We're all having fun in Horrortober, and you are watching the next 12 episodes of Amityville.
Well,
what are you doing?
all right. the Amityville thing is Lutsky's fault. Chad
It's all
Lutsky,
Let's
horror
Yep.
author extraordinaire.
Yeah.
He's been on me to watch these for weeks or months. I don't even know how long it's been. And I finally said yes, not thinking I'm going to have to watch 16 Amityville movies through October, which is when I like to watch An American Werewolf in London and all these classics.
Yep.
And now I'm not going to get to do any of that because I have to watch, The Evil Escapes or whatever the hell it's Amityville 4. I started doing them just as a kind of a fun thing to do for the podcast. I thought it would be funny to talk about Children of the Corn 8 and
Yeah.
how much I hate myself for watching them. And it just kind of happened that it was when the pandemic hit, and there have been way less movie releases, obviously. So it's kind of given me extra stuff to watch in a time when there's a dearth of releases. So it's worked out in that regard. The problem is some of these movies are so bad.
Yeah.
And my wife is much smarter than I am, so she does not sit and watch, a Halloween.
Well
7.
done to her. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of just turned into a funny gag. It's what I initially wanted it to be, and it got painful, and then it gets fun again when I start a new series and I watch the first one and it's great, and the second one's okay, and then I know I've got about 4 weeks of hell to get through the rest. So it started as a funny thing for the show and has just kind of gotten me through the summer. And the problem is every week in the comments somebody recommends a new series and I add it to my list. So my series was initially, or my list was maybe 10 series. Now it's probably 30.
Yeah.
So I keep thinking I'm getting closer to finishing this stupid project and I'm just actually getting further away.
Yeah.
It's never going to end.
No, never. We're going to keep finding you. It's going to be like Italian ones and all sorts. People are going to find you.
Yeah. Author Steve Barnard is constantly trying to get me to watch all these crazy Japanese, Gorno.
Yep.
I'm not going that far. No way.
And do you end up having to pay for a lot of them as well? They're not just on streaming.
So a lot of them I do end up buying, but Children of the Corn, you can get the first 8 movies in a box set for $2 on Amazon. People don't want this shit. No. So you can get all of them for nothing. And the Amityville movies, most of them have been on Amazon Prime so far.
Yeah.
I think the next one I'll have to pay $2 for, which does not please me. But most of them you're able to find. Yeah, it's not as bad as it sounds.
No, it's not like you're paying $25 for something or. No.
That would not happen.
No.
They should be paying me to watch this shit, to be honest.
Definitely, they should be.
Watch the Ghoulies series sometime and you understand my pain.
I don't have to watch these now because you've already done it for me and warned me off. So there we go. It's like a PSA. Yeah, you're doing us a service.
We'll go with that. It makes me feel better about myself.
There you go. Okay, so you might not be able to say too much about it depending on how you work with things, but I've got, what are you working on right now?
The Hunger #6. I'm finishing up the last chapter. I've maybe got 2,000 words to go, and then I have to write epilogue maybe, and then I'll do a second draft of that, and then it starts going out to my editor and proofreaders and all that stuff. So that is very, very close. And then after that, I'm going to write the 4th book in my Asher Benson series, which I've been kicking around in my head for a year, so that shouldn't take too long. And then I've got a bunch of standalones. I haven't written a standalone novel in a long time, so I kind of want to do a few of those. One's more of a thriller thing that I can't say much about because I feel like it's a really good idea, and I don't want somebody to steal it. Normally that doesn't bother me because I'm writing in this stupid little niche, but this is more of a thriller, and it feels like more of a mass market kind of idea. So holding that one to my vest.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's a few horror writers that seem to be going more down that, because it is more it's more lucrative, I think, the thriller kind of side of things. Yeah, definitely. I know Tim's done well with some of the ones that he's moved into, so I'm going more down the thriller side. So, and that is actually one of my, because having the police background, I think I would quite like to write something within that genre as well. So I've got something next year which is a collab, which is kind of serial killer-esque, so that might go more into the thriller genre, maybe. I don't know. But
It's
yeah,
a
that's definitely
much bigger pool
definitely.
of readers to pull from. So if you want to make money, that is
Yeah.
the way to go. I'm not a great. I don't know. Some people think my books are more thriller than horror, but I always call them, maybe a mixture of both. But
Mm.
pure thriller, this will probably be my first one. Maybe the first Asher Benson, but this is definitely going to fit more in the thriller category. But I'll be right back to writing stupid horror stuff
Yeah.
after that.
Will you write under Jason Brant, or will you do like a pen name for it?
It's close enough that it'll, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not something that my readers will be like, "What the hell is this romance?"
Yeah.
It's nothing like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll just be under my name.
Yep. Okay. So that actually answered the next question, which was what would be next after this one. So that's cool. Have you got a dream writing goal?
I,
To make lots of money.
yeah, yeah, to be independently wealthy would be great.
Yeah.
I think having one of my books turned into a good movie
Yeah.
is definitely, I don't want to say it's a goal because it's not something I can accomplish myself. There are a lot of factors and other people that have to be involved, but it's something that I would really love to have happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, most authors always want to see their books in a bookstore.
Mm.
That would be cool, but it's not a huge goal of mine. I don't know why. I think that's part of the whole I don't submit to publishers too thing because
Yeah.
I grew up reading Stephen King and Goosebumps and things like that, but I didn't read, oh God, what was the publisher that folded? Oh, Brian Keene was a part of it and Jeff Strand. Shit. Was the publisher
Leisure.
Leisure?
Not
Yes.
leisure. Yeah.
I didn't grow up
You do.
reading Leisure and things like that, so I don't have the attachment to some
Yeah.
of those bookstore horror novels that people used to find. I don't have that, so I think it's not a huge goal of mine to walk in and see a
Okay.
book on the shelf. It's
Yeah.
cool, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, and I just
Yeah.
bought it's A Clown on a Cornfield by Adam Caesar
Oh yes, I was just thinking about that. Yeah.
because I saw it in the store and I thought, you know
Yep.
what? If I had a book in the store, I'd want people to buy it too, so I grabbed it.
It's
So
an amazing book as well.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's
It's
next.
really good. Yeah.
So it's something that's cool, but it's not a huge goal for me. Honestly, it's mostly just to kind of grow my brand and have more readers. I can't think of the marketing term for it, but it's if you have 1,000 true readers, you'll never have to work another day in your life. You can just do that. So I'm always striving to just kind of grow my business and find more people. That's honestly mostly it. So the biggest thing would be to have a movie on the big screen. I
Hmm.
think would be really neat. Although I think the big screens might be going away at our current
Yes.
pace, so
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually going to happen.
We've just had announced a whole chain of cinemas. So we've got a big chain over here called Cineworld, and the
Hmm.
whole chain's gone bust. And we've got three just in my town of them. So it's a
Yeah.
big deal to be losing all of those cinemas.
So they went bankrupt. They're not just closing temporarily.
The company's folded. So
Oh, man.
unless somebody steps in, because again, it's such a massive thing, and they are all there, so somebody may step in and buy them. But who's going to the movies at the moment? Hardly anyone that I know.
Yeah, that's brutal. The Regal Cinemas here just announced they're going to close for I think 6 months,
Mm,
and they may try to reopen in April, which is brutal. I would
yeah,
not want to be in the movie business right now. That's for damn sure.
no, no, definitely not. And because I said we've got three here, we've got another cinema as well, so that leaves us with one cinema in the whole of our town. But one of the ones that is just closed has got a big like 4K IMAX as well, so that's all going to be shut down, which is
Man.
just yeah.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot. I mean, all the big moves have been pushed back till next year. I don't know how you could stay open if you were a big theater chain. I don't know.
That's
Sucks.
it. Yep, and a lot of it's not on. It's not ticket sales, is it either? It's like the thing like drinks and popcorn
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff that they make. If you've got to wear a mask while you're in there, how can you eat
Yeah.
popcorn and stuff? So they're not making anything from concessions at all. It's awful, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to be in a cinema at the minute. I just wouldn't want to. So I can kind of see, and if big movie guys like big movie fans like us aren't wanting to go, then
Yeah.
that's the problem.
We went to see Tenet when our movie theater reopened here, and there was nobody in it. It was two of us in the biggest theater. I mean, I don't know how many hundreds of seats were in it, and it was just two of us sitting there. So it was a great experience for me, but
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
looking around thinking, this ain't gonna last.
No,
There's
no,
no way.
definitely not.
It's a shame.
It is a shame. It really is. And it's a shame because we, again, like, although we don't take her to see anything scary, but we take Felicity to the movies a lot. She loves to go and see like the Disney films and things like that because it's a great experience watching it on a big screen. So it's a shame for, like, on her birthday, we always go to the movies and stuff like that. It's a shame for everybody, but
I hadn't
it's
thought
just
about
not
that.
viable.
Yeah, I mean, a whole generation of moviegoers may never get that experience when they're young and then crave it when they're older, like me.
Yeah.
If my uncle hadn't taken me to the movies when I was young to go see Batman and things like that and Jurassic Park,
Yep.
I never would have appreciated the experience. And now I love going to see things at the cinema.
Exactly.
So yeah, there might be a whole generation of kids who just never get into it.
Yep.
It's
It really
brutal.
sucks. Yeah. And we don't have drive-ins over here either. I don't know whether it's because of like the weather or space or what, but that's just not a thing that we have in our country. So
It
I know
feels like
that
a very American thing.
it is. But it makes sense though that if you're in a big open space, that you can do that and you can kind of do it safely. So I can see where like drive-ins, okay, they might not be showing the newest blockbusters, but they can still show old movies and things. But we don't have anything like that. So if all of our cinemas go bust, that's it. We have no way of watching stuff apart from when they stream it, like this video on demand thing that we seem to be having,
Yeah.
which is almost as expensive as if you went to the cinema, which
Yeah,
kind of
that's
irks me a bit.
it's crazy. They come out and it's $20 to rent it. Like, what the hell?
Exactly. Yeah.
$20, I should have a signed Blu-ray.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sat on my own sofa having to make my own popcorn now, and I'm still spending the same amount of money.
Yeah, I got to clean up
That
after
sucks.
this is crap.
Okay, cool. So you also managed to answer that question because that was going to be if one of your books could be. Oh, you didn't say which though. So if one of your books could be made into a movie, TV series, Netflix, boo Netflix, a Shudder original. There you go. Which one would it be?
Probably if I just wanted to have one movie, I would say The Dark. It's one I'd optioned a few times. It came very close actually to being sold, but I would say The Dark. It's just a standalone movie about a living darkness that overtakes a town, and the only people who had a light on them that wasn't on the power grid at the time because the grid goes down, they're the only people who survive this initial
Okay.
event in the first
Yep.
few pages. And as I was writing it, I just had a very cinematic feel in mind of,
Mm.
man, this would look really cool and this would be creepy and scary. So probably that. And it could be made fairly cheaply compared to most of my other books are these huge in scope monstrosities that would cost $100 million to make.
Yeah.
This one you could probably do for Blumhouse money. So
Oh,
I'd probably go with that.
who would you star in it if you could have anybody?
Oh man. God, I've not thought about that in a long time. Well, there are really several main characters. One's a younger kid. I have maybe somebody from Stranger Things would be fine.
Yep.
They're a known commodity.
Mm.
The Christie character, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I'll have to get back to you on that. I
Okay.
have no clue. I'll have to think about that. It's been a while.
Yeah. Okay. I'll hold you to that. You can answer that another time.
Okay.
Okay. Who is the least favorite of your characters that you've written? So a character that you've really disliked.
Oh man, that's interesting. Because I always try to have my villains have a reason why they think they're right.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm not just writing or trying not to do a cardboard character.
Yeah.
Probably comes across that way to a lot of people, but I'm not trying to do that. There was a character at the beginning of the Hunger series who was a survivalist. He's definitely an asshole who's taking advantage of the situation as things unravel. So maybe him. There's a Smith character in the Asher Benson series who does some really terrible things. So, I'll go with Smith because he
Yep.
does some really, really terrible things that he thinks are going to lead to good things, but he's definitely one of
Right.
those I'll sacrifice 10 to save 20 kind of guys.
Okay. Yep.
So I'll probably go with that because he causes a hell of a lot of mayhem.
Okay. And no redeeming qualities.
I can't say. There's something
Oh,
that's going to
okay.
be coming in the next book that justifies his
Oh,
actions a little
okay.
bit
Yep.
more. Not that he's right. His method
Yep.
is completely wrong, and that's kind of what starts a lot of the story, but
Okay.
he has justifications for doing what he's doing,
Oh.
and I just haven't revealed all of them yet.
Oh, okay. Woo. Excellent. Right. What is your writing process? Are you a planner? Are you a pantser? Do you sit down and just go, or what is your process?
I am a pantser
Yeah.
100%. I do think through the story as I'm writing it, and if it's been a long time between book releases like I am right now, sorry readers, I'm seeing your emails. I apologize. I do tend to plot through it in my head a lot more than I even like to because I really like to have the story kind of unfold. I might have a very general idea of the direction it's going when I sit down, but typically what I like to do and where I think a lot of my best work has come from is I come up with a crazy scenario, like a living darkness takes over a town, and then I come up with the characters and then I just drop them in the scenario and kind of let them find their way through.
Yep.
I don't know if that makes for the tightest narrative, but it makes the story much more exciting for me to write. And it makes me want to sit down more and more and more to write it.
Hmm.
And it makes my pace, my writing pace accelerate. And then I can get a lot more books out that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would work in thrillers as well as horror novels, because I feel like with a thriller, you definitely need to have more specific plotting. You need to hit beats
Yes.
more
Yep.
often. So I'm definitely a pantser, and when I start to get into plotting a little more, I feel like it actually bogs me down. I think most
Okay.
writers, plotting helps them write faster, and for me, it just the joy and the mystery of writing kind of goes away a little bit.
Yep.
And it's part of my struggle right now is I've known how this book I'm writing was going to end for months, and it's just really hard for me to finish it because I
Yep.
know exactly where it's going.
Oh, okay. Do
As far
you?
as my
Yep.
process, I just basically sit down. This is the best thing that ever happened to my writing career was I set a timer for 30 minutes
Mm.
and I have no phone.
Yeah.
My Wi-Fi is turned off. I just sit and I write. And once the buzzer goes off, then I take a 15, 20-minute break or usually it's an hour, 2 hour break. Yeah. And then but I can sit down and get, 1,000, 1,200 words down in a half an hour if I'm just completely focused. And that's pretty much it. I just have a little laptop. I go around the house and sit my fat ass down and write.
Before you weren't allowed to go anywhere, did you ever go and write in like coffee shops and things like that, or would that be a distraction?
I've done it a few times, but I don't even have a car. My wife has the car that she uses to go to work, but I don't have one when I'm here by myself. So for me to drive somewhere isn't really reality. And if I took an Uber or something, I'd end up spending a fortune,
Yeah.
So I typically just write around here. I might write out on the deck for a while or here in my office or in the living room, but it's almost entirely here. I've thought about getting an office so that I have to wake up in the morning and physically go somewhere,
Mm.
writing space to see if that helps get my word counts higher, but I haven't been able to justify the cost
Yes.
of an
Yeah.
office yet. So it's another idea I kick around like the Patreon thing. I think about it, once a month and I never
Mm.
actually do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It might be better, but I couldn't tell you.
Well, I think especially if you're at home and you're on your own, so you haven't got the distractions, that's almost akin to having somewhere that you go to anyway. Because it's the same for me. My husband, he's only works at home once a week. The rest of the time he's at his office because he's a lawyer, so he's away. My daughter's at school for most of the day, so I'm here alone, which is like perfect time to pretend to write whilst really just procrastinating for hours.
That's what writers do. Let me check Twitter one more time.
I know. I like the idea that you said there about the timer, though, like timing it and cutting everything else off, because I'll be right in the middle of something and all I can hear is ping, ping, ping with notifications. And
Yep.
I'm like, I'll just check who it is. Oh, I quite fancy reading that one. And before you know it, you've been sucked down the Twitter wormhole.
Yep.
You've got out of your flow and you've forgotten where you're going.
Yeah, I don't remember who gave me that. It's not something I came up with. Another author told me about it, and once I started doing it, it was just like, wow, I'm getting so many more words down.
It's so simplistic, but it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just a shitty analog timer I stole out of the kitchen that my wife wasn't happy about. It works well.
Yeah, definitely. So do you have like a formula at all that you follow with like acts in your book? You know, like some when it's supposed to be like, or if it's a certain level, there's supposed to be, oh, like at this point something major is supposed to happen, and then you go a bit, and then there's supposed to be another major point here, and all of that kind of stuff. Do you follow any of those kind of arcs, like the story iceberg type things?
I definitely do 3 act structure.
Yeah.
But it's not like, okay, at page 100, I have to have some big event happen. But, and I think it's just from watching so many movies and reading so many books, and most of the best stuff, particularly when it comes to movies or novels, follows a 3 act structure.
Yeah.
So I think I just kind of picked up on it naturally without knowing that's what it was, without knowing that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I probably had written 2 books before I'd even heard of the 3 act structure.
Yeah.
And then as I was reading it and I'm thinking about my stories, I'm like, huh, that's definitely what I do. So yeah, all my stuff is that. I don't consciously sit and try to figure out what needs to happen here to push the next third of the book.
Yeah.
But that is 100% what I do.
So it might be subconscious, but that is how you. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool.
A little more conscious in the last few years, but yeah.
Okay. Rounding up to the end of my questions. Do you have beta readers?
Yes, they're beta readers / proofreaders because my books are so terrible when I finish them, with missing words in particular, that I have to have an edit. I used to send it to my readers before it was edited, and all I got back were just, proofreading notes. I never got any. So I send them through an editor first now, and then I have them just basically make sure, did I have somebody there carrying the gun in this chapter? In the next chapter, there was no gun. Like, did I I forgot. So
that's it.
It's mostly things like that.
Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Plot holes, does this make sense? And if there isn't anything big, if they just have small recommendations, then I fix those. If there's something huge that I have to step back and really think about, oh, I screwed this up and the whole last part of the book doesn't make any sense. Fortunately, I haven't had that happen, but that's the biggest reason I send them to my readers. I've got, I think, 5 people that I send them to that have just do a really good job finding nitpicky stuff. Her eyes were green here and then they're blue, in the next book. Stuff that I'm stupid and I don't pick up on all of it. So yeah, I've got a handful that I've had over the years. I just added another one recently, actually. He does a really good job. So yeah, I do.
That's cool. Because I've done some beta reading for people before, and it is amazing. Like, and these have been like, a couple of them are people that have got loads of books published, and when you beta read, you pick up, like you said, on those tiny things because they're so focused on like getting the words down and the plot and whatnot, that you do miss those tiny little things.
Yeah.
And it's not just missing words here and there. It can be something quite like, I've even seen a character's name change.
That happened.
They were like, whoa, exactly.
Yeah, in the Hunger series. I was writing a book before the Hunger #1 that I never finished. The main character was Lee, and one of the 2 main characters in the Hunger is Lance.
Yeah.
So I started writing Lance, and then at chapter, I don't know, 7 or 8, my mind switched back to Lee. And one of my readers was like, "Did you have a stroke in the middle of writing this book? The main character's name changes." It's like, oh shit, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I might have had a stroke because that was really bad.
Oh, well, you're not the only person, that's for certain.
Yeah. There's a reason I don't post writing snippets until I've gone through the process, because I would have no readers if they knew how bad I actually was.
Oh, that's funny. Do you get a lot of stuff come back from the editor, sort of saying, like,
I don't pay her enough. It's really bad. I've been thinking about writing buying some software like Pro Writing Aid, maybe, that it does a good job finding missing words, or I actually write my action sequences with sentence fragments on purpose. I feel like it adds a kind of staccato nature to some of the action scenes. So I'm a little afraid of running that through something like Pro Writing Aid, because it's going to pick up every fragment, and I don't need to spend all day going through those, but sometimes I don't mean to do sentence fragments and it just looks stupid and makes no sense. So I need to find a way to send her less work to do, because when I get the edits back, I'm like, oh God, this is going to take me 2 days to go through this, just doing track changes fixes. So yeah, that poor woman.
But are you self-taught in that way? You know, because if you did things like to do with TV and whatnot at college, have you got, I don't want to say like a formal English qualifications or anything, but I don't think most people don't kind of look at a sentence and think, oh, it must be active and I must change this and I must do that. So how did that come to you, being able to write like that?
I honestly just, I think reading other books and thinking, wow, I really got sucked into that chapter. And then when I decided to start writing, I went back and looked and thought, oh, that's how he did that. He took out a lot of sentence structure that makes it flow nicely. And in doing so, it made it stand out in my mind, because your brain doesn't just skip over, everybody knows when you're reading a big chapter, sometimes you start to daydream a little bit in the middle of it, and then you're like, oh God, I have to reread that.
Yep.
But so when I'm writing something I really want to make an impact, I will sometimes change the sentence structure. And I really just got that, I think, from reading certain authors and, okay, what works here? Where did I get bored in this chapter? And to me, Stephen King is the greatest writer ever. But in some of his stuff, particularly in the 90s, I would get lost, and even sometimes in the 80s, in these giant, monstrous chapters and paragraphs. And I just, when you open a new page and the whole page is one paragraph and it's a block of text, sometimes it takes me 4 times of reading it because my mind wanders. So it's really just been self-taught, just what works for me when I read something. What do I like? Even when I watch movies, why did this story affect me so much? Was it a character? Was it the pacing? So it's really just been observing. It wasn't any kind of formal training. So a lot of my books, I really like stories that are told on the run. So something happens and then the characters are running away from a monster or a robot. The Terminator is a great example. Once the Terminator hits, the Sarah Connor character learns what the hell is happening on the run. And I love that kind of storytelling. So I've kind of used that a lot in some of my books. And it's just from observing, just watching a ton of garbage, wasting my life. It's paid off a little bit.
Oh, that's cool, definitely. Because I got like, although I did criminology at college, obviously from wanting to get into the police and whatnot, I did take some English classes in college as well. But I don't think I use any of the stuff that kind of I learned back then. Now, like you say, it's not copying what you've read, but it's using that structure. And again, thinking like Jan's, his prose are just absolutely beautiful. I don't think I've ever read a Jonathan Jan's book where I'm thinking, what's going on? If anything, I'm thinking, what does that mean? Because that's such an amazing word, kind of thing. You need a dictionary next to you.
He uses dollar words. I use nickel words. Big difference in his writing.
But his writing is just like, as a more modern writer, his is just beautiful. And I think that you can really learn, like you say, from the people that you read as well. Like you say, it's like what sucks you into a story, that whole kind of like show rather than tell, and have your characters talking about things rather than drip feeding it in, rather than just saying this is what happened. It all comes from reading more yourself, I think.
It definitely does for me. Jan's is a great example. I love reading Jonathan Jan's stuff. His writing and my writing are so polar opposites. I will actually sometimes take words out or simplify them in my books because I want the story to flow. I don't want people to have to stop and be like, what the hell does that mean? But I like reading stuff like that. I really like reading his, but I specifically do not write like Jonathan Jan. So it's kind of a funny dichotomy. It's true. I do not want people, unless when I do sentence fragments or something like that, where I want it to very specifically hook them. He's a much better writer than I am. If we were in a literature class, he would be getting A's and I would be getting C's. That's for sure.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think Jans is definitely someone that's like, he's got to be on his way to the big 5. Definitely, he's going places.
He definitely has that style of writing. Sure. But
Yeah.
he writes messed up stuff, which is not going to help him
Yes. Yeah.
get contracts. Yeah, sometimes I read his stuff. I'm like, God, you're a teacher?
Yeah.
What?
Definitely. Yeah. No, but he's such a nice guy as well. That's the thing. He's just so down to earth. None of his stuff is pretentious. He's just really, really cool guy. So, yep, definitely his and Hunter's work as well. I must admit, because I'm just almost finished with Slash at the moment, and his prose are really, sort of really beautiful when you read some of it as well. And then you have things that like make me laugh out loud. Like one of the lines was, "It's as cold as a witch's tits," and I was like, I just love that.
Yeah, you read his stuff and then you hear him talk on a podcast and you're
Yeah,
like, this is the same guy?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The drunk guy with the sleeves cut off of his shirt ranting about a stupid horror movie. And then you read his books. You're like, what? My wife had that same thing. She read Creature
Oh
and
yeah,
she could
yeah,
not believe that that was the same guy. She went to club.
yeah. I can see that definitely. Which I guess just makes it even more clever.
It does. I like being surprised.
Definitely. So, who's your apart from Stephen King? Who is your favorite writer? Someone that you can't wait till they've got something new out to be able to grab hold of.
I would say Blake Crouch. He's become this huge author in the last few years. I found him when he was self-publishing with J.A. Conrath. I don't know, 7,
I-
8 years ago, maybe.
Is that the Wayward Pines guy?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Wayward
Okay.
Pines was his
Yeah.
big breakout series.
Yeah.
And now he's done Dark Matter was a huge book. Recursion. I mean, he's getting deals now, multi-million-dollar book contracts each time. And he was self-publishing a few years ago. He was writing screwed up horror stuff when I first found him. And now he's writing much more thriller, time travel, memory analysis books. They're
Yeah.
great, but
Yeah.
it helps that his writing style is kind of similar to mine, except it's much better. But he also likes to do small paragraphs, quick, hard-hitting chapters, things like that.
Yeah.
So I honestly think he might be the best writer going right now. The stuff he's putting out, it's taking him like 2 years a book, and you can
Right.
tell he's putting a ton of research into it. It's
Yeah.
more, yeah, thriller science fiction right now, I'd say is more of his genre, but he is killing it on another level. I just think he's amazing. So if you haven't read Blake Crouch,
Mm.
highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah, again, I haven't, but again, I'd picked up on him through Final Guys when you have talked about it, and I think that Hunter read the books in quick succession over the summer or something. So
Yeah.
the name was, and we've seen, haven't seen the whole series, but we've seen some of Wayward Pines as well. So yeah, that definitely looks. I think that both me and Steve would quite like that because he likes his all sci-fi and all that kind of stuff as well.
Then have him check out Dark Matter and or Recursion if he likes
Yep.
sci-fi stuff. They're
Yep.
both really good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
he's killing it, and he's making a lot of money right now, and it's
Yeah.
well deserved.
Excellent. Do you know him at all?
No, never
No.
spoken to him.
No.
Yeah, I've talked to that dumbass Jans a couple times. He was on my podcast years ago. So I know like a lot of the indie guys that kind of in Hunter and I's circle. I've talked to a lot of those guys and met them, had beers with a few of them. But no, Blake Crouch is in another stratosphere.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't even know if you could get him on a podcast right now. He's so big. It'd probably be difficult to get a hold of him. It'd be like, nobody's as big as Stephen King. I mean, guy probably lives on an island somewhere by himself. But yeah, I think Crouch he's hitting that level where good luck getting a hold of him.
Okay. I'm gonna have to. Oh, that's gonna make me too dark now, isn't it? The sun's like completely crushed my wallet.
Getting a little brighter here too.
Well, I'm gonna have to go in a couple of minutes anyway for the school run. Is there anything else that you would like to either talk about or add for a bit of self-promotion, since you don't do it very much on Final Guys? The others are always talking about their own stuff and you don't do it, so this is your moment to shine.
I don't like to do it. I like to sell myself, and if people find what I'm saying interesting, or describing my writing process or whatever, if they find that interesting, then I want them to check it out. But I really, when I do podcast interviews or Final Guys or whatever, I really like to just talk about whatever that person ones to talk about. And advertising for my books, I do a lot of online advertising, Facebook, BookBub, things like that. So I target at people who are looking to buy a book. That's the advertising I do. And when I'm just talking to somebody, I just like to talk. I
Yeah.
don't know. It feels very, used car salesman-y to start pushing my books on somebody who's clearly just wants to listen to a interesting podcast episode, not have shit pushed in their face, bad fiction. So no, if you're looking for book or movie recommendations, I will say I think we're really hitting our stride with Final Guys right now. Now that we've added Tim, and I think we're giving probably 15, 16 movie and book recommendations a week. What to watch, what not to watch, what's good,
Yep.
what's not.
Yep.
So if you're looking for some curation on what to watch in Halloween or really all year round, I think we're doing a pretty good job with it right now. So if you haven't listened to that, you might like it.
What are your views like? Because I mean, obviously, because I watch it the next day, it doesn't show how many people you have watch it live. So what kind of do you get? How many views?
It's not many live. Honestly, the live thing is mostly because I need to nail these guys down on a specific date.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
something I learned from my first podcast. If you have open dates like, oh, maybe we'll record on Thursday, or you know what, I can't do Thursday now, let's do Saturday, then you end up missing weeks. And that's why I quit my first one. So we're doing it live every Tuesday. You assholes need to be here. That's mostly why it's there.
Oh, okay.
I want to say we get like 30 plus who pop in and out during the live feed. We're much more of an audio podcast than the video podcast, obviously. But yeah, it's not a huge number live, but I do like having it too because we get some hilarious comments that I can pull up and show, which I get a kick out of. So yeah, it's not a big live experience. It's fun, but yeah, it's mostly just so I can nail them down.
Oh, okay, I see. So what are the listens like then? What sort of numbers do you get? Just
We're
out
in
of
the
curiosity.
Hundreds. Yeah, we're in the hundreds. We don't advertise, so I don't really go deep into, we're doing this in India and we're doing this in the UK and this in the US. We haven't monetized at all. I probably should at some point because it actually costs me money to do the show right now. But yeah, we're in the hundreds. It really depends. Some episodes we can do, 200-300 more than a different one. So it's kind of all over the map, to be honest. But we got a pretty big push starting in August. It must be Tim's beautiful hair is bringing people
definitely in. Stud muffin.
Yeah, we've almost tripled our listenership in the last 2 months, so that's been nice. I don't know if it'll last. It's definitely peaks and valleys and all of this stuff, just like in any career. But we're doing okay.
Awesome. I like to think it's since I've started watching more regularly and retweeting it and sharing it.
I appreciate all the support. You're in there every week. How did you find it, by the way?
Because of Hunter. So I had been reading Hunter's books, and then I followed him on Twitter, and then saw that he was doing it. I watched a couple of episodes of Monster Men first, and then got talking to Jack. And then I saw about the Final Guys. So I was like, oh, just give this a watch, see what it is. And I was like, why have I waited all this time to find you? It's amazing. And I've actually gone back and watched nearly every episode.
Oh, wow. We've had a lot of difficulties over the years, tech issues, internet issues. We've had a lot of...
It makes it funnier.
It made me lose some hair, I think. I'm a lot grayer now than when we started. That's for damn sure.
Yes, I don't think I've watched every single one, but only because a couple of times I must admit, the first time I looked at it and I was like, oh, do I watch? Because I thought it was like you watching the movie, like before I knew what it was. So there was a few, I was like, oh, I hated that movie myself. So why would I want to watch, you guys talking about a movie that I hated? And then when I realized that actually sometimes you do an hour show and only talk about the film for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, if we don't like the movie, we don't spend a whole lot of time on it.
So now I'm like fully invested, and I've gone back and watched even films that I absolutely detest because you've only talked about it for a few minutes, or you've all equally detested the movie as well. So I feel vindicated. Like, yes.
Or we rag on it a lot and people get some laughs out of that. So. Yeah.
But I make some shocking announcements in some of the things I do, because I don't pander to anyone. Like, there's films that everybody in the world absolutely adores that I can't stand, because I've got a real bugbear about endings. I can't stand open endings. If it's a cliffhanger and it's going to be a series, that's absolutely fine. But any kind of movie that makes you think at the end, "Ooh, what happened?" I'm out. I cannot stand it. And ones that completely blow your mind, also I cannot stand. So, Hereditary, absolutely fucking hated it.
Oh no. Oh man.
I know, and it's like I've almost been like blacklisted from the horror community. But don't get me wrong, right up until the end, I absolutely loved it. The acting's fantastic. There's a few bits where like Toni Collette's up on the ceiling and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And then just that shitty ending where it all goes weird, culty, naked old people and all that stuff. I was like, no, I don't want that end.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Remake it. Yeah.
I feel like that might have been my second favorite movie of the year that year. It was close. What the hell was my number one? Was it Overlord? That may have been my number one. Did you see Overlord?
I haven't seen Overlord. No.
It's really good.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really good. Yeah.
I might check that out. Is it in the same vein? Because I
No,
haven't.
no.
Okay, completely different.
It's an action-driven horror movie, World War II
Oh, okay.
creature. It's
Why
so
haven't I
good.
seen that then?
It's so good.
I
I'm
don't
pretty
know.
sure that was my number one that year.
Yeah.
It's completely different than Hereditary.
Yeah. Because I haven't been able to bring myself to watch Midsummer, because that's also kind of like weird, naked old people. Maybe it's the naked old people, or maybe I'd be fine if I didn't have to see that. Yeah. And I've just, everyone again raves about it. And I just can't bring myself to watch it.
Check out Overlord. It's completely different.
I like the sound of that. Yeah.
It's more pacing in the vein of Aliens, something like that.
Oh, well, I'm sold already.
Or Demon Knight or something like that. It reminds me of those.
Yeah.
Solid.
I think I'm a dumb movie watcher as well. I like my movies just to be, give me a monster, give me a slasher. If I watch a thriller and I have to think about it, that's absolutely fine. I can do that. I can use my police mind, although then I find I'm shouting at the TV going, "We didn't do it like that." That doesn't happen. You can't do that. With horror, I like to know what happened. I do not want one of those stupid endings.
I like all of the above. I can get really nerdy in the filmmaking stuff, or I can just like a stupid, I have a show called So Bad It's Good. Obviously, I appreciate bad movies as well. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't been so much lately, but I used to get into a little more nerdy stuff on Final Guys, and they were always like, "Oh God, here we go." The aspect ratios. What I say last night, they were like, "What?"
Oh yeah, there was something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was talking about the lens.
Silence.
Yeah, the lenses they used.
That was it. Yeah.
And they were like, "What?"
Yeah, I don't see any technical things in movies, I must admit. It's more like, just give me an ending. So another one which drove me absolutely mad at the end was Wounds.
I haven't seen that.
Okay.
Wounds.
Wounds.
Is it new?
Yeah. It's definitely the last year or so. It's Armie Hammer, and it's quite the book. The guy that wrote the book has just done another one, and it's like American Lake Monsters or something like that. It's quite a big author, and then everybody raved. That's it. Yeah, everybody raved about the movie, and again, right up until the end, I was fairly invested, and then the end was quite open. Of like, what did you see that? Did you not see that? Did that happen? Did that not happen? I was like, I'm out. Nope.
Wow. Okay. I've never even heard of this somehow.
Okay. Is it? I think it's Netflix. Is it on?
Let's see. It looks like it's on Hulu.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't have that in the UK. I'm pretty sure it was Netflix over here. But yeah, it's it's a good movie right up until the end, and then I'm like, no. Well, so I should be interested to see what you see. Yeah, because Tim keeps giving me movie recommendations, and they're almost always like cosmic stuff, which again, not my cup of tea particularly. Will watch it, but not my favorite. And then he's like, "Oh, and the ending, you'll never know what happens." So I'm like, "Fuck that." No.
Well, I promise you, in Overlord, you know exactly what happens at the end.
Good.
I'll leave you with that movie. I think
Good.
you'll like it.
Yeah.
And if
I'm
you
gonna
don't,
check
don't
that out.
message me again.
Yeah. That's it. We're done.
That's it. If you don't like Overlord, we can't be friends.
Okay. That's fair enough. Well, as long as you like dog soldiers, and I know you do, then
Oh, yeah.
that's my only thing. And just found this one out again to watch. This one might be for tonight. Brain Dead.
Brain Dead. Oh, wow. I haven't seen that in a while.
That's the level of movies that we watch.
Look, tonight I am watching Amityville 5, so I can't say anything.
No, no.
Pray
Apart
for
from
me.
fuck my life.
That sums it up.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much. I will try and work out how the hell to edit this and put it onto something, because we all know how technical I am with that. But hopefully the new software that you sent me, I should be able to make it all fancy.
Yeah, good luck with that. I don't know how easy it is to pick up or not. I use a more professional level of that same program that has a lot more features and it's a lot more complex. Like if you look at it, you'd be like, nah, I can't figure this out. But once you get the gist of it, it's not bad. So good luck.
Thank you. No, basically, when I do my stuff normally, I just record it on my phone in one take. That's why it's always so professional. And then put it straight onto YouTube on the YouTube app on my phone. That is it. That is the level of my
Saves you a
knowledge
lot
of
of time.
technology. It does. It does. And that is why Lou does all of the cryptid stuff, because I wouldn't have a clue. I just sit there and ask the questions and send it all to her.
Well, I mean, I don't think, hopefully you don't have to do too much editing on this.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it will need editing. I'm just going to bung it straight on YouTube.
There you go. Works for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you very, very much for your time.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
So it was a pleasure, and I will talk to you again very soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
See you later. Bye.